Welcome back, America. So pleased to be joined now by United States Senator John McCain of the great state of Arizona. Senator McCain, always a pleasure. Good to speak with you this morning.
Well, thank you this morning, Hugh, and I'm feeling the burn this morning. I hope you are too.
Your colleague, Bernie Sanders, is giving your former colleague, Hillary Clinton, quite a pain in the neck. Let me ask you about Playbook this morning, John McCain. Mike Allen writes that members of the conservative intelligentsia aching for a Republican to run independent against Donald Trump have concluded there is a difficult but viable path for an independent based largely on the unusual unpopularity of the two nominees. A well-known conservative told us the final three possibilities are Senator Ben Sasse, former Senator Tom Coburn, Mitt Romney. The conservative told us to expect a renewed buzz around this possibility over the next week and sees a 50-50 chance that one of the three will do it. What do you think of that, John McCain?
Well, Hugh, I just think that the people have spoken. By the way, I had a beloved friend named Congressman Morris Udall. We called him Mo. He was a Democrat, one of the most amusing guys that ever lived. And after he ran against Jimmy Carter for the nomination in 1976, and after he finally had lost the last primary, they used to sort of do him week by week. He came out and he said, "The people have spoken, the bastards." And so I kind of feel a bit like Mo Udall. The fact is that the Republicans have spoken, and I just don't see the scenario. I think you and I have heard about this ever since it appeared that Trump was going to win the nomination. I just don't see it happening. One of the things that both parties have done over the years is pretty well set a system up that it's almost impossible to challenge when the two parties have their candidates. I'm sure you are obviously very aware of that.
We'll wait and see if it happens, but I'm more skeptical. 50-50 is a lot higher than I would put it, but we'll see. Senator, let me turn to the immediate issue. Yesterday I had Tom Cotton on, and he was responding to the White House attack on him for attacking the Iran deal. Here's what Senator Cotton said. Now, Senator Cotton, do you think Josh Earnest has a clue about what is... I mean, honestly, this isn't a personal thing, but do you think Josh Earnest and Ben Rhodes have a clue about who the Iranians are, about the revolutionary government there, about Khomeini and what is really going on?
No, I don't, Hugh. You know, most of who's left in the administration now are all these yes men and fanboys who were van drivers or press flacks for Barack Obama in Iowa and New Hampshire in 2008. This reminds me of the time back during the big fight over Obamacare and the government spending bill in the fall of 2013. And one of the guys over there accused the House Republicans of being suicide bombers, if you recall that. As if any of them had ever seen anything more dangerous than a shoving match when they're playing beer pong on the back of a bar in Georgetown.
So, Senator McCain, you along... Pretty good, huh? And so,
Tom Cotton,
what do you...
Tom Cotton, my friend, I'm glad you had him on because he's a rising star I believe in the nation and in the Republican Party. He brings the credentials of a person who has served honorably, and he's very, very important member of the Armed Services Committee. So, and I would just like to add to his comment. We now found out from that, of all places, the article in the New York Times about this national security team and what apparently is one of the most important leaders, Ben Rhodes, who is a fiction writer who now has a mind meld with the President of the United States. They are entirely clueless. And perhaps more importantly, the statements made by Gates, Panetta, and Hagel about dealing with that National Security Council, saying, I think it was Hagel that said they're a bunch of 35-year-olds talking all the time so they can tell you how smart they are. And by the way, in the defense bill we have now, are going to start next week on the floor of the Senate, that cuts the national security staff to 100 and some. Under Henry Kissinger, by the way, it was 50. It's now 500 plus 200 detailees.
So everything they do is tainted, I think, by the fact that we've left the kids club in charge, the Mickey Mouse Club running over there. In the meantime, I see CENTCOM Commander Joseph Votel says that it's gone to hell in Iraq pretty quickly.
Yes, and also General Nicholson in Afghanistan is saying we're losing there. Meanwhile, there's a plan to continue to cut back our troop presence in Afghanistan while we are losing. And yes, we have regained territory. You know what I love, Hugh? They say we've taken back 25% of the territory that ISIS held. That's desert. They still control Mosul. They still control Raqqa. They still control, as long as they control the second largest city in Iraq and their geographic base, first time a terrorist organization has had a geographic base. By the way, there are weapons laboratories going on there in Raqqa, but then we're trumpeting the fact that we've taken back a certain amount of territory. Meanwhile, they've metastasized into Libya. They're now coming into Afghanistan and other places, but not to worry. That's the JV, and we are degrading, and will eliminate ISIS. It's bizarre, but that New York Times article shows you that, one, we have a organization with people like young Mr. Rhodes who are unaccountable to Congress, and it's really amateur hour.
It is amateur hour, and we've got to hold the United States Senate Republican control. I just finished reading Leader McConnell's memoir, which will come out in 2 weeks. It emphasizes the extraordinary importance of keeping 51 seats regardless of whether Mr. Trump wins or Secretary Clinton wins. And they're trying to come after you, John McCain, in Arizona. They're going to pour a lot of dough in there and try and turn you into, I don't know, an extension of the worst parts of right-wingism, when in fact you're a national hero for your service and for your long service in the Republican Party. What do you look ahead to this campaign as foaming up as?
I look ahead to a very rough, competitive campaign. I also believe in that old Irish saying, a fight not joined is a fight not enjoyed. And so I look forward to the combat, but I expect a very, very tough campaign. And anybody who doesn't in this tumultuous year, who is in office, is not thinking clearly, to say the least. So I'm working hard. I'm the greatest honor, frankly, in my political career is to be chairman of the Armed Services Committee, and we are reforming the military with the work that we're doing. I'm proud to work hard for the men and women who are serving, but you just can't take anything for granted. But I am confident of victory. But Hugh, this may be, and I said this privately and publicly, this may be the toughest race I've ever been in, and to anticipate otherwise is just foolish.
Well, they're going to pour dough in, and you're going to need small donors, and that's at johnmccain.com. That's pretty easy for people to remember from across the United States, because I think your would-be opponent is going to be flooded with union dollars, and they would just like to beat the former nominee, right? That would make them happy.
Oh yeah, that I probably have the biggest target of all on my back. My opponent said that one of the proudest votes that she has cast was for Obamacare, and meanwhile, it's collapsing, particularly in Arizona. We're going to have 8 of our 13 counties with only one care provider, and of course, as you know, the premiums are skyrocketing. And she's just voted with. On the Obama line about 95% of the time. So, but look, I'm proud of my record. I'm proud. The people of Arizona know me, and I'm going to really have a lot of fun traveling the state, as I have been, frankly, for the last year and a half. But to take anything for granted, as I said, would be foolish. But I believe that this nation is in more danger than at any time since the end of World War II, and that is also a sentiment that was told to the Armed Services Committee by the Director of National Intelligence, General Clapper. And there will be further attacks on the United States of America, and this failed leadership is going to go down in history as arguably the worst president in the 20th and 21st century on national security issues.
Now, Senator McCain, a little in the weeds, the National Defense Authorization Act has not yet passed. There's some differences between you and your colleagues on the House. Can we look forward to some speedy compromise to get this thing done? Because they need to know where the money's coming from and where it's going. Well,
we need more money, but we also need to continue to work on reducing the size of both the military staffs and the civilian staffs, which have ballooned totally out of any sense of proportion, and we will be for example, we're going to reduce the number of four-star admirals and generals by about a third. That while the military has been reduced by some 30%, the number of four-star admirals and generals has increased by some 60%. But more importantly, we got to reform the way the Pentagon does business. The cost overruns are unacceptable. We had a hearing the other day of the F-35. Do you know that the plane is still not operationally capable? Do you know how many years ago that it began, Hugh? 17 years ago.
Meanwhile, you keep buying Super Hornets, right?
I get a new iPhone every 18 months.
I know that you keep buying Super Hornets because you can't trust the F-35 yet, correct?
That's right. That's exactly 17 years later, and $1 trillion weapon system, the first in history, and that a $2 billion cost overrun on an aircraft, on our Gerald R. Ford, the newest aircraft carrier. These things are not acceptable, and believe me, the Pentagon is fighting us back with everything they've got.
Now, in the course of amending Goldwater Nichols is what you're trying to do, I think. Right. Can you keep the base funding for readiness up where it needs to be and get some ships in the water?
Well, we have to. Fox had two pieces recently. One about a Marine squadron down in Beaufort where they kept a plane in the hangar that they robbed parts from, and another about a Air Force B-1 group that just came back. Only 9 of the 20 aircraft are flying. Our pilots, the Marine pilots, were flying 5 hours a month. Believe me, you only fly 5 hours a month, you're not ready to fight. It is. That's always, whenever you have the senseless cuts, that's always what happens first, and that's readiness, and that is the movie we saw after the Vietnam War, prior to Ronald Reagan, when we let the military go to hell.
So last question, Senator. Donald Trump's consolidating Republicans. He's got 87%, but he's way behind with Latinos. You did very well with Latinos in your campaign in 2008 that was crippled by the financial crisis. What's your advice to Republicans about speaking to Latino American voters? We got 30 seconds.
I think we have to understand that we have a lot in common. Whether it be small business, lower taxes, pro-life, pro-military. We have more Latinos serving in the military as percent of population than any other population base in the military. We've got a base there, and we have common values and common interests. We've got to exploit those.
Senator John McCain, always a pleasure. Come back often. JohnMcCain.com, America, to contribute to his reelection. We need him to hold the Senate, so go there and help him out.